Christian under scrutiny, Quincy being mocked and scorned, the girls now being implicated into home in the essay with their father by a girl who worked the white parties. Like, this is a lot. And they didn't choose it. They were born into this.
Don't let the hate get to you. Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, I was just gonna
trust. I'm so numb. Cause like people
so
always have something
to say.
Yeah, people always
when
have
they
something
don't
to say.
know shit about nothing. Like,
right. So I'm like, when I see a hate, I literally laugh like out loud because it's like at the end of the day, like you don't know me. You don't know me.
Now remember, I told y'all I think that Diddy's twins are victims of SRA. Go check out the old video if you don't know what that means. Please Google it. It's a type of mind experiment that people do when they're involved with certain secret groups. They do that to people to control them mentally.
Stop scrolling right now, because this isn't another rap beef moment. It's a jaw-dropping allegation that's got the internet whispering like they just overheard something they weren't meant to hear. When 50 Cent started hinting, he didn't yell, he didn't rant, he smirked, posted, and let the implications do the damage. According to online commentary blowing up the timeline, this wasn't chaos or coincidence. It's being described as a pattern to incidents eerily similar, allegedly following the same script. People are calling it a twin crime, not because it's proven, but because the parallels feel uncomfortable. The kind of uncomfortable that makes silence louder than denial. What's really setting the internet on fire is the suggestion that Humiliation wasn't accidental. Allegedly, it was planned, timed, executed like a dark performance hiding in plain sight. The comparisons are wild. People are saying this makes reality TV look like daycare, and celebrity scandals feel painfully unsophisticated. And 50 Cent. He didn't spell it out. He never does. He dropped breadcrumbs, laughed, and watched the internet connect dots that maybe weren't supposed to touch. Because once patterns start lining up, curiosity turns into obsession. And once obsession hits, there's no scrolling past what comes next. The moment 50 Cent started posting again, people knew something was coming. Not because he announced anything, but because history says when he laughs online, someone else panics offline. This time felt different though. The tone wasn't playful beef energy. It felt colder, calculated, like someone reopening a file they never actually closed. According to internet commentary, what set everything off wasn't one claim, but a pattern. Two incidents, two outcomes that looked eerily similar when placed side by side. On their own, each moment looked chaotic. Together, people started whispering the word nobody likes to hear attached to power. Intentional. That's when the phrase twin crime began circulating. Not as a legal term, not as a proven charge, but as a way for the internet to describe what it thought it was seeing. Two situations allegedly mirroring each other so closely that coincidence started feeling like an insult to logic. 50 Cent didn't present evidence. He didn't need to. His strategy has never been about paperwork. It's about pressure. A caption here, a laugh emoji there, a repost at exactly the wrong time. And suddenly the audience starts doing the work for him, connecting dots faster than legal teams can draft denials. The speculation centered on humiliation, not violence, not money, humiliation. The kind that doesn't just hurt in the moment, but lives forever in clips, memes, and cultural memory. Online voices began asking why. Certain situations always seem to end with the same person embarrassed, while someone else walked away untouched. That's where the idea of planning entered the chat. Allegedly, commentators suggested these weren't spontaneous collapses but orchestrated moments disguised as chaos, like reality TV without cameras, except the audience doesn't realize they're watching until the episode ends. People started revisiting old footage with fresh eyes. Moments once written off as awkward suddenly felt staged. Pauses felt deliberate. Reactions felt rehearsed. The internet loves revisionist history. But this time it didn't feel like a reach. It felt like a rewatch. What made the speculation explode was how calm everyone involved seemed afterward. No outrage. No shock. No, this went too far. Just business as usual. And in internetlogic.com, after chaos doesn't signal innocence, it signals expectation. 50 Cent's reputation added fuel. This is someone known for playing the long game, someone who weaponizes memory, someone who waits years to make a point if it lands harder later. So when he hinted instead of accused, people leaned in closer instead of dismissing it. The comparisons got wild quickly. Commentators said this made celebrity beef look like amateur improv. Others joked it felt like a psychological chess match played in public. The jokes landed because underneath them was discomfort. Nobody likes realizing they might have been entertained by someone else's breakdown. Online analysts started breaking down who benefited, who didn't, who recovered fast, who stayed quiet, and who never quite escaped the punchline. Patterns don't have to be criminal to be unsettling. They just have to repeat. the phrase humiliation ritual began trending in comment sections. Not as an accusation, but as a theory. A way to explain why the same outcome kept happening. Allegedly, humiliation wasn't collateral damage. It was the point. The spectacle. The warning. That theory scared people more than any direct claim could. Because if humiliation becomes a tool, it means power isn't just exercised behind closed doors. It's performed, publicly, repeatedly, and applauded by an audience that doesn't know its role. The internet's attention shifted from what happened to why it happened that way. Why embarrassment instead of silence? Why exposure instead of removal? Why the same emotional ending every time? Those questions didn't accuse, they lingered. Silence from the other side didn't help. No dismissals, no counters, no laughter, just distance. And distance, in moments like this, becomes interpretive space. People fill it with whatever makes the most sense to them. Meanwhile, 50 Cent kept doing what he does best. Nothing obvious. No follow-up explanation. No clarification. He let the speculation breathe. Because speculation doesn't need confirmation to spread. It only needs plausibility. Comment sections became echo chambers of pattern recognition. Some voices pushed back, calling it conspiracy culture. Others argued patterns are how investigations start. Both sides agreed on one thing. The story felt bigger than a joke. As hours turned into days, the conversation matured. Less shock, more analysis, less laughing emoji, more uncomfortable silence. That's when narratives stop being trends and start becoming references. The alleged twin crime. Label stuck because it simplified something complex. It gave people language for a feeling they couldn't quite explain. And once language exists, conversation multiplies. 50 Cent didn't claim responsibility for exposing anything. He didn't have to. The internet credited him anyway, because sometimes exposure isn't about revealing facts. It's about forcing people to look again. By the time mainstream pages started circling the conversation, the damage was already conceptual. No charges, no confirmations, just a seed planted so deep it couldn't be ignored, and that's what made this moment dangerous. Not proof, not accusation, but pattern awareness. Once audiences start recognizing patterns, they don't unsee them. Whatever the truth is, one thing became undeniable. This wasn't being treated like a joke anymore. It was being treated like a warning, and once a story reaches that point, it doesn't fade quietly. Once the theory escaped niche comment sections, it hit the mainstream timeline like a bad smell nobody could ignore. Reaction videos multiplied, each louder and more confident than the last. People weren't asking whether the idea was comfortable anymore. They were asking why it suddenly felt familiar. Social media turned into a pattern recognition factory. Clips were stitched together, slowed down, replayed, and narrated like a true crime marathon nobody consented to join. Moments once dismissed as awkward now look deliberate when placed side by side. The internet loves hindsight, especially when it makes people feel smart. Memes didn't stay playful for long. The jokes got sharper, darker, and more specific. Screenshots were paired with captions that implied orchestration without saying it outright. Humor became a shield for discomfort, because laughing is easier than admitting. You might have watched something unsettling unfold. What escalated everything was the way other celebrities reacted without reacting. A few likes here, a cryptic quote there, silence everywhere else. In internet language, that's not neutrality. That's people choosing not to step into something they don't want attached to their names. Commentators started comparing the situation to high-budget psychological chess. Not because anyone proved a strategy existed, but because the moves looked familiar. Someone always ended embarrassed. Someone always walked away clean. And the audience was always left debating what they'd just seen. The idea of humiliation as currency made people uneasy. Allegedly, humiliation sticks longer than conflict. It doesn't just hurt reputations, it rewrites how someone is remembered. The internet doesn't archive dignity well, but it preserves embarrassment in crystal clear resolution. Public outrage didn't explode all at once. It simmered. Slow burns are more dangerous than flash fires because they don't burn out quickly. People started questioning past moments they'd laughed at. Retrospective guilt crept in, and that changed the tone of the conversation. Live stream debates went from chaotic to uncomfortable. Hosts stopped joking and started choosing words carefully. Guests paused before answering. Nobody wanted to sound like they were defending power games, even hypothetically. The room temperature dropped across platforms. Pop culture comparisons flooded in. Some likened it to reality TV manipulation without confessionals. Others compared it to infamous celebrity takedowns where the punchline outlived the scandal. The analogies kept coming because they helped people process something they didn't fully understand. Critics pushed back hard, calling it conspiracy, thinking fueled by boredom and bias. Supporters countered that history is full of uncomfortable truths, first labeled conspiracies. The back and forth only boosted visibility. Debate is oxygen for online narratives. Boosted visibility. Debate is oxygen for online narratives. What kept the theory alive wasn't evidence, it was alignment. Too many details lined up in the same direction. Not perfectly, but enough to create unease. Unease doesn't need proof to spread. It only needs plausibility. The silence from key figures became a Rorschach test. Some read it as legal caution, others read it as confidence. Silence allows everyone to project their own conclusion, which is why it's so powerful and so risky. Meanwhile, the original instigator of the conversation stayed quiet. No victory lap, no clarification, just occasional laughter posted at moments that felt intentionally inconvenient. That restraint made the speculation feel less reactive and more sustained. Public opinion began separating humor from harm. People admitted they'd laughed before, then stopped laughing. That transition matters. It's the point where entertainment turns into introspection, and introspection doesn't trend quietly. By now, the phrase twin crime had outgrown its origins. It wasn't about literal crime anymore. It was shorthand for a perceived pattern of public humiliation repeating under similar circumstances. Language evolves when people need it to. Brands and platforms noticed the shift. Content moderation tightened. Hosts avoided the topic unless framed carefully. Nobody wanted to be accused of amplifying something darker than gossip. That hesitation spoke louder than any statement. The outrage matured into scrutiny. Scrutiny doesn't yell. It watches, it waits, it documents, and documentation is what turns moments into movements. Even when no one planned one. As the days passed, the story didn't escalate with new information. It escalated with interpretation. That's how cultural scandals survive without updates. They live in analysis. People began asking whether this was the end of the conversation or just the middle. Patterns don't feel complete until they repeat or break. And everyone was watching closely for which would happen next. Because once the internet decides something feels off, it doesn't let go easily. It doesn't need closure. It needs continuity. And continuity was exactly what everyone feared might be coming. When the noise finally slowed, the aftermath didn't feel resolved. It felt suspended. The kind of pause that makes people uneasy because nothing was officially answered. No confirmations. No denials strong enough to shut the door. Just a story sitting in the middle of culture, refusing to move on. Public perception shifted quietly, not explosively. This wasn't a cancel moment or a victory lap. It was something more dangerous. Once people start reinterpreting past moments through a new lens, reputations don't collapse instantly. They erode. That the alleged twin crime theory didn't need updates to stay alive. It lived in memory, in comparisons, in the uncomfortable realization that some moments once laughed off now felt different in hindsight. And hindsight is brutal when it rewrites intent. What made this phase heavier was the lack of emotional reaction from the people at the center. No visible outrage, no public disbelief. Just distance. Distance can look like confidence or caution, depending on who's watching. And everyone was watching. The internet began treating this less like gossip and more like a case study. Not in crime, but in power dynamics. Who controls narratives? Who absorbs humiliation? Who walks away clean? Those questions don't disappear just because the trending tab moves on. Commentators stopped asking if the theory was true and started asking why it resonated so strongly. That's the shift that matters. Cultural stories survive not because they're proven, but because they explain something people already felt, but couldn't name. The phrase humiliation ritual stuck not because it accused, but because it described a feeling. The feeling that embarrassment kept landing in the same direction. That spectacle felt intentional, even if the intent was never proven. Careers weren't ended overnight, but the temperature changed. Appearances were analyzed differently. Collaborations were scrutinized. Silence was interpreted more carefully. When perception shifts, everything slows down. The alleged exposure didn't create new enemies. It reminded old ones to stay quiet. That's what made it unsettling. People who usually rush to defend didn't, they observed. And observation, in power spaces, often means recalculation. The instigator of the speculation never claimed credit. That restraint mattered. By not owning the narrative, he avoided responsibility for it. The internet did the rest. Sometimes the most damaging move is simply pointing and letting others argue about what they see. Public fatigue eventually set in, but not forgetfulness. This wasn't the kind of story people binge and discard. It became a reference point, something future moments would be compared against. A remember when that doesn't need explanation. Critics maintained their stance, insisting this was pattern hunting dressed up as insight. Supporters argued patterns are how uncomfortable truths surface. Neither side fully won, and when nobody wins, the question stays open. The silence from key figures remained unbroken, and that silence grew louder with time. Silence doesn't age well online. It invites speculation the longer it sits untouched. Every day without closure adds another layer of meaning. The audience began separating legal truth from cultural truth. Something can be unproven and still impactful. Something can be alleged and still change how people feel. That distinction is uncomfortable, but it's how modern scandals survive. What lingered wasn't accusation, it was awareness. Awareness that humiliation can be weaponized. Awareness that power doesn't always announce itself. Awareness that audiences aren't just watching anymore, they're remembering. The industry adjusted quietly. Conversations moved offline. Topics were avoided in interviews. Risk assessments changed behind closed doors. Nobody wanted to be the next example in a pattern they couldn't control. This moment didn't end careers, but it altered trajectory. It introduced hesitation where confidence once lived, and hesitation is often the first visible consequence of public doubt. As time passed, the story became less about individuals and more about systems. How embarrassment circulates, how laughter becomes currency, how silence can protect or condemn depending on timing. The alleged twin crime stopped trending, but it didn't disappear. It settled into the background noise of pop culture, a low hum that resurfaces whenever something feels familiar again. And familiarity is the real danger. Because if the pattern repeats, the theory won't sound speculative anymore. It'll sound predictive, and prediction is where curiosity turns into alarm. For now, the chapter remains open. No final statements, no clean endings. Just a story paused mid-sentence, waiting for either confirmation or contradiction. Until then, the internet watches differently, laughs less easily, replays old moments with new caution. Because once you notice a pattern, you don't need proof to feel unsettled, and unsettled stories never truly end. If you made it this far, congratulations, you didn't just watch a story. You survived a full mental audit of celebrity power games. This wasn't gossip. This was the kind of allegation-fueled breakdown that makes you stare at old clips and wonder what you actually watched the first time. Now smash that like button like it's been acting innocent, but knows exactly what it did. Don't tap it politely. Hit it with conviction. That click tells the algorithm you like your content sharp, suspicious, and served with a side of sarcasm. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because there's no such thing as neutral after that. Do you think the pattern is coincidence? Or does the internet smell something deeper? Say it with your chest, respectfully, reckless. Because the comments section is where theories either die or multiply. And if you're not subscribed yet, you're basically watching this channel in airplane mode. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next breakdown, exposure, or eyebrow-raising moment that has the timeline pretending it didn't see what it just saw. Because scandals don't come with warning labels, patterns don't announce themselves, and silence is never accidental in celebrity culture. Over here, we don't rush conclusions, we track patterns. While other channels wait for permission, we rewind the footage, zoom in, and ask the uncomfortable questions. New theories, new receipts, new moments that make Hollywood look way too rehearsed. That is viral, TREK, where patterns get noticed. Laughter gets awkward, and the next controversy is already warming up backstage.